everybody, it's the Hey Poopy podcast. What that booty do from poop to pleasure to health, hosted by me, Ellen.
And me, Dave, too. Curious people removing the stigma from your stinker. And why are we doing this? Because we love laughing, learning all things but, and helping them be the best they can be. And on this week's episode, we had Cassie, who is a colon therapist here in New York. So she gave us tips on what you can do to live a healthier lifestyle, get that colon working at its best, peak performance.
Yeah, she was great. She told us about getting regular with colonoscopies. And the one thing that she also told us about was laxative addictions, which in the 4 years Dave and I have been doing the show, we didn't even know that there was such a thing. And also makes me so terrified to ever take a Swiss Chris ever again. But I might still take them. Who knows? But I should be taking enemas instead, she suggested. Yeah. Like parts of these clips.
We went to Martha's Vineyard and we'll just rent some bikes and we'll go around, not realizing how big this island. So we're riding for 30 miles and I'm like, oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom all of a sudden and there's nowhere to do it. So I'm just going to leave my bike over here, go in this place I'm not sure if it's really a good idea, but I got to go. It's become an emergency right now. And almost immediately after I started to go, it was making a pile of wet, mushy shit. And then I thought I heard something and I got nervous. I was like, oh shit. And then I stepped in it. In my sandal, in my super favorite sandal of that summer. My foot was covered in shit. My husband is so sweet. I'll clean it off. He had a plastic bag. He tied it and hung it from the back of his bike. Gave me one of his socks. I'm wearing one sandal and one sock. And there's shit shoe hanging on the back of my bike.
Yeah, so tune in. You'll hear amazing things like that, and you'll learn a lot about your colon that you might have not even, remembered or known. So so definitely check it out. And if you would like to know more about us, Ellen and Dave, me, her, you can go to heypoopypodcast.com and you can find all the things about our world we live in. And you will be pleasantly surprised at what we have to offer.
And on to the shit show.
Hey Poopy, how you doing? Hey Poopy, how you doing?
I'm just, trying to find a place with like-minded people to talk about like-minded things about me, about poop and stuff.
Hey Poopy, how you doing? Hey Poopy, how you doing?
Oh man, what's this right here? Is this a podcast about poop?
Welcome back, everybody. You know what day it is. It is dump day.
Yes, it is. And this is the Hey Poopy podcast with
Dave
and Helen. And this is episode 185.
You forgot your name for a second? Sorry.
Dave's like, I don't know if I'm myself, but this is episode 185, but it'll always be number 2 to us. It was a very Ron Burgundy kind of moment, Dave.
Yeah, it was very Rhonda Burgundy.
Yeah. And we have a very special guest today. We have Cassie, the colon therapist, who's going to tell us all about what she does with everybody else's buttholes. She's deep in the trenches, as Dave calls it. And Cassie, before we go into who you are and what you do, we'd like to check in with how have you been pooping recently?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. Yesterday was my birthday, so...
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Things. So we went to a restaurant and it was pretty over the top, fancy, nice, all of this, which is fine, but it was so salty and I had to wake up multiple times during the night to drink water. It was so much. So generally salty food are not helpful for poops at all. Just dries me right out. So not so great today. Oh. Not so great. I'm drinking a shit ton of water, so I'm hoping tomorrow is a lot better.
Okay.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
Salty. I guess it makes sense. I never thought about it, but I feel like I'm rarely having a problem where I can't go. So usually I can just eat through whatever. It just keeps coming out. But good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, it dehydrates you, all that saline.
Hydration in your colon to keep things moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dave, how have you been pooping?
Pretty good. I got surgery on my hip 3 weeks ago, and I haven't been into work for like 3 weeks, which has been amazing. But I'm just probably go in like today. So I went in today. It's totally fine. But I went to the back. I think I had this being not nervous about going into work, but I just like a little anxiety because I was like, oh, I got to go deal with rush hour traffic on crutches. So I took 2 shits right before I left. At first I was like, okay, I'm not going to make this train because I had to go back inside to go to the bathroom again. And then like, I'm not super gassy a lot, but today has been like insane farting for me.
Ooh.
And then last night we went to a really close dear friend of mine that I've known her for like 20 something years. She had her birthday party in the city and we went. And then, like, while I was there, I had to go so bad. And then, like, the one handicapped bathroom was, like, taken. Luckily, this waitress was like, oh, my God, if you go all the way in the back, take a left, there's, like, a whole back area through like, another. It looks like an emergency fire door, but it says, like, bathrooms this way. This amazing area with 8 bathrooms, separate stalls, like, these little mini bathrooms. There was, like, soap. It was, like, hidden away. It's what every restaurant should do. I'm flicking on the name of the place, but it's on 11th Avenue and 28th Street. But magnificent facilities. Unbelievable. I was like, this is like the best bathroom situation you can possibly have. Like, you're just like isolated. No one's like really around there. It's genius. And it's like behind another door. So it's like you can't even like the smells would never even penetrate the actual restaurant bar. So
you got escorted right to the VIP.
Yeah, it was
Poopy.
fantastic. And like a lot of room. Some of these bathrooms in New York are like really tiny and like tons of room. So excellent facilities. Wow. So yeah, highly recommend. But ever since I've been like super gassy today. I was doing some bridges today for my hip and just my cat, we have kittens and one of them is just like sleeping next to me and I'm just farting right on her the whole time. And she's not even moving. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, so that's where I'm at.
You were going to say, Cassie?
Oh, I'm on 27th Street, so I'd love to know what place this is.
Oh, it's, God damn it. I've been there a bunch. Here we go. It is at, drum roll please, Porchlight.
Porchlight. I knew it was Porchlight.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. Best bathrooms.
And actually, the same restaurant owner is the guy whose restaurant I was at last night. So,
small world. Okay, cool.
Yeah. You all almost met before you met today.
Know, right?
Wow.
Like once removed somehow.
I have been pooping pretty decently. I'm not mad at it. I did get very drunk Sunday night, which usually if I'm hungover, it's one of 2 things. I'm either terribly constipated because all the alcohol has dehydrated me, or I have liquid ass because all that alcohol is trying to leave the system and it's rotted my insides. I pooped kind of normal yesterday, which I was completely surprised about, but I like stayed home and I know this is going to sound insane. I enjoyed my hangover because it gave me an excuse to just focus on the things I needed to focus on and not stress out about anything else. Cause I was like, I feel like shit. So just do what you got to do. But last night for dinner, Gerald made chicken, rice, and beans. And you know what beans do? I was tooting all night long.
Nice.
Like I had a symphony of trumpets coming straight out of my ass for the whole world to hear. It was fabulous.
A lot of activity.
Yes,
okay.
Very a lot. It's never boring. I also did wake up the night that I had drank a lot and I went pee in the middle of the night and I looked down in the toilet and something was floating in the toilet that was not made by a human or paper. And I just looked at it and I was like, I have a feeling I should just pull that out. I pulled it out of the toilet when there was no pee in it. It was just water at the time. And I washed my hands afterwards. But I pulled it out and I was just like, I'm going to deal with this later. I just know that if I flushed it, it would probably clog the toilet and we'd have more of a problem. It was like this little plastic thing about this like 2 inches long by like an inch and a half. I mean, a half an inch wide. And then I realized what it was. It's like the little stopper underneath the toilet seat that rests on the toilet bowl. Gotcha. And it must have broken off. And so now our toilet seat is a little like Action Park when you sit down on it. Yeah. So we might need to get a new toilet seat sometime soon.
Been there.
Yeah. So, Cassie, tell us more about what you do besides your poo. I have a feeling it has to do with other people's poo, though.
It sure does. Yeah. When I'm not helping everyone else poop, that's my whole day. So where I'm on 27th Street is I'm at my office currently. And the whole point of my entire business is to help people go to the bathroom. So it's really helpful for a whole bunch of reasons, whether you go too often or not often enough. Any out of balance, or even if you're things seem to be good, there's plenty of stuff in there anytime you check, lots of stuff. So in fact, my last client who I just finished with has been fasting for the last 5 days, and she kept pushing out a ton of stuff the whole time. So even if you stop putting stuff in, there's a ton of stuff in there. So colonic is basically, first of all, it's really old. It's been around since 1500 BC. So it's not new at all. So this concept of flushing water through your intestines to push a bunch of crap out it's been around for a minute, and it's very effective. It's gentle. The water just moves into your body through gravity, allowing it to fall in, so not dissimilar to an enema. And then the water is pushing all this waste and gas and other buildup out through a separate tube and going straight into the sewage system, so it doesn't smell bad, it's not messy and not embarrassing, and it's a pretty smooth process. Yeah, and it can be a total game changer.
For those people that haven't had a colonic, like how long is an average take?
Takes about 45 minutes to an hour. So the amount of water, we'll probably use about 25 gallons of water in a colonic.
Wow.
And that amount of water is just constantly flushing through for 45 minutes to an hour. And the amount of stuff that it's kicking up, rehydrating, and pushing out is completely insane. It's disgusting. It's shocking. It will blow your mind.
I've had colonics in the past. Do you have the one of the machines where you can see the tube?
So I do have a view tube, but not exactly the one that you're describing where it's lit up in a machine. The one that I use is exactly which one you're talking about. The one that I use it's more old school than that, which is more preferable for why we like it. Yes, there's a YouTube, and I can absolutely see everything coming out. And my whole job is to get out as much as possible because everyone is completely full of shit. So the more it can get out, the better your colonic will be.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I was just going to say that's a great tagline. You're full of shit, so you should come see me.
Yeah.
You're full of shit. You are. Come get a find out that you are.
What are any things of note, crazy things that you've seen, the craziest thing you've seen?
I know everyone does ask me that question, and I've been doing colonics for 15 or 16 years. So I have seen a lot of things. I've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of clients who are all walks of life. And I was describing, it could be anybody because we're in New York, especially. So the degree of it could be anybody. It could be a garbage man or an NBA player or a finance person or a yoga teacher. It could be absolutely anybody, but it just when you explore what's inside of somebody, it could be the tiniest, cutest little human being that is the most absurdly disgusting of all. And it tends to be like that. So yeah, I don't even know how to describe in words. It's almost the way that the experience of witnessing some of the most crazy things, it's the way that it's happening and the volume that it's happening. It's like an exorcism. It's so aggressive. It's flooding out like an avalanche, and it just doesn't stop. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. But have you seen anything like a foreign object, like a penny, or how people are oh my God, my pills that I took 10 years ago came out?
Yeah, I know people say that kind of thing. And I do not doubt in any at all that it's not in there. If you put it in, it's probably in there. I don't doubt that, but you have so much acid in your body breaking it down into something that you wouldn't be able to see that easily. So whenever in and they're somebody told me that they had a colonic and they saw a penny and they saw a doll and they saw some toys and they whatever, I'm I don't know. I've been doing this for a really long time. I see a lot of stuff. I don't see things that look like things that are so recognizable unless it's food, and it was from recently, because the rest of it just mud. It's been acidified to the point where it really just looks like a big mess. And so I don't know. I question those wife tales a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure.
It's like a Marvel or G.I. Joe.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe you ate the Trader Joe, which I'm like, oh, the Trader Joe, the G.I. Joe. Maybe you ate the G.I. Joe. I don't know if you really did do that, but let's pretend.
Yeah.
I bet it look like that anymore.
After Dave and I doing this show for 4 years, I bet it's more stuff that people are sticking up there than swallowing. And so
you probably get more honest stories than I do. So.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had doctors on who have told us about crazy stuff they've pulled out of people's butts. So
I actually heard that from clients who are doctors who are like, and actually I did have a client too, who she worked at Babeland, that sex toy shop. And she used to give lessons there because part of their offering is education. So they give actual classes. And one of the classes that she taught is like what you can and cannot put in your asshole, because so many people just like are like, this should be fine. And they have to teach an entire class about what you can and cannot put because.
Oh yeah. We talked about on this show before, this book of 3 doctors had put out. They're all x-rays of like foreign objects they found in people's like butt. I mean, like a salt pepper, like a giant, pepper grinder.
Yeah.
Like scissors and not the handle end. Like just crazy shit. Like, so.
What were you trying to do? I know one of my doctor clients was doing Doctors Beyond Borders type of thing. And he said one of his patients came in bad shape because I guess he put a glass bottle up his asshole and it broke. And yeah, I know. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I slipped and fell and then, it broke.
Like I thought it might feel good and then it didn't.
That's insane.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Just buy a sex toy that's meant to go up there. Stop fucking around.
Buy a glass sex toy. Then you get best of both worlds.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
They have great Pyrex ones.
Yeah.
They have metal ones. They have so many amazing sex toys for your butthole. Get the stuff that's made to go in there.
This Coke bottle seems like it'll work.
Yeah. You're like, well, I have this right now and I don't have a sex toy shop nearby. So.
Nice.
Yeah, our favorite
in my asshole.
Our favorite colorectal surgeon, Dr. Carmen Fong, who's come on the show a bunch of times, she told us that she gets called to the emergency room to take things out of butts more than she would like to. Like, she's like, this is not why I got into this career. I got into it to help people find like polyps so they can cure cancer. I did not get into it because some kinky motherfucker got a fucking toy truck stuck in his ass, Like, it's crazy.
It is pretty nuts. But that, I feel like that's part of the gig though. It's like it's gonna I mean, I wonder like what the difference is like between like a city versus like rural country areas. Like sometimes I think it'd be crazier in a rural like backwoods country, like backwoods like state or something. Just all kinds of weird shit.
Like, I wonder if those people have died because they didn't get to the doctor soon enough. Because here we have tons of emergency rooms versus like those rural areas. They're like, I put a pitchfork up my ass and died because I couldn't get to the hospital that's 3 hours away fast enough.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like I sat in the milk machine, the milker. I tripped and fell. My ass is hanging out.
Cassie, we've only had one other colon therapist on the show before, and it was like 3 years ago. And one of the questions that I loved to ask her was, what kind of diet or foods do you suggest that your clients eat or stay away from?
Great question. And I think it's a really important one. So if you think about food, I mean, people have very complicated and generally toxic relationships with food. So I think one thing about getting a colonic is that you have this experience with your colon in real time, and it has you thinking about food differently. So people leave very inspired. So of course I want to direct them like, hey, now that we're clearing out some space, maybe you want to make some better choices. Of course you do. You feel better. And you just like kind of got some information, some feedback directly in the moment that whatever you were doing wasn't great. And all of the stuff that you're putting in there is sitting in there and rotting and never coming out because it can't, because it was never designed to. So what's one nice way of thinking about food differently in a less like complex and dysfunctional way is like, if I'm putting it in my mouth, is it ever coming out of my asshole? Instead of like, how many calories does it have, or how much fat or grams of this or that? It's like, is it real? Will my body recognize it? And can it push it out of 30 feet of long, windy, hot intestines and out of my asshole? That would be kind of a healthier way of thinking about food. So if you were like, maybe an analogy of a car, like if you took your car to the gas station and they were like, sorry, we don't have any gas. Do you think you'd put like Diet Coke in your car tank? Do you think that car will drive? Like your engine requires the right fuel to work and then also to like push out the fumes. So those two things are happening at the same time. So you want to put in the stuff that can actually move through your intestines that's recognizable as food. So the best direction to look is like from the earth. Like, did the earth make it and be like, hey, I made this for you? That's a good direction to be looking in. So toward plants, things that are naturally made of fiber and water, but also like just sprouted right from the earth. That's the direction. So when people are like, yeah, but isn't this one not as good as this one? And my answer is like, just eat plants. Like, don't try to like put them in like a hierarchy of which ones are better. Just eat them. Like, they came from the earth without all this information on the package because there was no package. So you can trust to the best of your ability. Obviously, if you're not growing it yourself, like obviously it's not going to be as good or perfect. I personally grew up in Brooklyn, so I don't know how to grow anything. So I can't speak to it from like what a different perspective that would be. But yeah, the best thing you can do if you're somebody like me who doesn't grow anything is trust that the earth like pretty much got this. Obviously, people are still messing with it to make more money, but don't super question it. Just head in that direction. And the things that you want to stay away from are things that didn't come from there. So things that came from animals and things that came from the laboratory, from scientists. So that pretty much simplifies it. And the less things you can do in those categories and the more things you can do in the earth category, the better off your body will be at working really well, like a car getting the gas that it actually is designed to process, use, and work from.
I like when you use the car metaphor, you said fumes, and I just thought about farts.
Yeah.
Or a byproduct that's like actual gas byproduct from processing the food. So everything that's like that is going to have something that pushes it forward and something that it's emitting backwards. So farts and poops, like, and then even with farts and poops, you can like put them on a spectrum of like, let's say you woke up in the morning and you were just like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. And then you walked over to the bathroom and you had like a really nice healthy poop and it felt complete afterward and you just felt good and the whole thing worked out. And like, what's your mood like? And what's your attitude towards your day like? And just like, what is that experience like? And then on the very, very other end of the spectrum, let's say you woke up and you were like, ouch, I'm in pain, I'm cramping. Oh my God, it's an emergency. You run for the toilet. And let's say the exact same amount of stuff came out in the toilet, but it was painful and you're sweating, you almost passed out, but the same quantity, but a very different experience. First of all, your colonic can look like that too. You can have the same amount come out, but somebody's like sweating, crying in pain, or they're like, wow, this is a beautiful release. I'm so glad to get rid of this. Good riddance, thank God. And then there's gas that would fall on a similar spectrum. Like you could have gas, like you said, from beans where you're like, oh, this is really moving. And it's just like a natural process here. Or like I ate so much bullshit and I'm having so much gas and it's so painful and keeping me up all night. And I can't, bless you. And I can't like.
Thank you, sir. I tried to mute because I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, no, we couldn't hear you. We couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
You could hear me.
No, I said we couldn't. No, we couldn't.
Oh.
We did not hear you.
So yeah, same thing with gas where you're like kind of aware of like, this is gas because my body is furious. And this is gas because like I had some cauliflower and beans. So just a general like spectrum of those things. You'll be able to get that feedback from whatever you were eating too.
Yeah, and there are also some vegetables out there that people are allergic to. So you have to listen to your body.
Yeah, always listen because it's giving you feedback all the time. So maybe it's like technically healthy, but it's not good for you.
Yes, completely.
No, that's a good rule of thumb. I try to do that, but then the holidays come around and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Snacks.
Louder than body.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I want something that was, what's in that bag over there?
Yeah. And then you get the feedback later, right?
For sure. Yeah. You feel like
always feedback will come.
So if you're the majority of your clients that come to you, are they more constipated? Are they like, what is their general concern or
it
reason.
does vary so much. So some people definitely, I would say constipation is more common. Like I'm much more prone to constipation. I think I didn't even go to the bathroom for like 10 years and didn't even know that it wasn't normal. Ooh. Yeah. And I meet people like that all the time. So the constipation can range like you wouldn't believe, like just a little bit, or like I don't go maybe once a month. And even then it's like a nice, like a little pellet, like it could be anything. And then other people are dealing with not specifically, maybe constipation is part of it, or maybe it's not, but it could be just like any range of problems, just like whatever's going on, it's not normal. And a whole range of that, like it may be like hot and cold, like I'm not going and then going double, or it's like it's like when I was describing that spectrum where it's like an emergency and I'm running to the bathroom and explosive, but like that's not normal. So whatever's going on. And then some people do it all the time. So like this is how I got into it, was that I started eating healthier, and then I was like, oh, I think I'm going to try this colonic thing. Started doing that. And then I noticed how much everything was improving in my whole entire health and my digestive system and my elimination over time. And then I just kept doing them because like, no matter how much you do it, there's so much crap that's just building up in there all the time. It never ends. So there are people like me who are like, well, I may have started for one reason and now I just do it because it makes my life better. So it's almost like if you think of an analogy close to like exercising, what if you only exercise because you were like, I gained a few pounds, versus I always exercise because it's just part of my lifestyle. It makes me feel good. Yeah. It's healthy. So people can do it because it's just part of their routine, or because, oops, I really fucked up, or I'm just like not having a good time in general.
Yeah.
What about somebody like Dave, who's a little more loose in the caboose?
Yeah.
Do you suggest stuff for them?
Definitely. Because what you want to do is find balance. You want to find, so like the same thing's true. Like if somebody was like, oh, let's think of the different, like some people need to lose weight, some people need to gain weight. But if you were like, oh, you need to gain weight, should you just eat a bunch of like candy? Probably not, because you might still not gain weight. A lot of people just won't that. But what you want to do is become more healthy, and then your body will balance out. It'll find. So that's why you're not looking for the symptom necessarily. You're looking for health. So if his are like out of balance in a different direction, you're still looking for balance. Like balance is more like equivalent to health. So people who have Crohn's disease, for example, who might be going like 15 times a day, really benefit from doing colonics. One, because we can push it all out in one shot. So that's just helpful, just for basic lifestyle and practicality. But just like when you're healing your intestine, things just find more balance. They'll either go more or less according to what you eat. And actually diarrhea, or like that too much variety, you might be losing too much water, and you might be like stuck with more constipation and hard stuff behind it without realizing it, because you're like, but there's so much wet stuff coming out. So it must be like stuff, but what might be left behind is more hard stuff.
I wouldn't say I'm a diarrhea person. Just more, okay. No, it's more like just like on the looser, I guess he's five-ish range on the Bristol stool chart out of 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that sounds like a little bit more like loose and watery. Yeah. So that might leave you with some more dried up stuff behind without you realizing.
Interesting. Okay.
Right, because if all the water's coming out.
I will say I do this when I do my. I can't take I'm supposed to like be off my supplements until I'm done with this pill regimen for my post-surgery stuff. So then once I get back on that, because the papaya enzymes work really well, and it just binds me up and everything. But lately they've just been like although they had a nice 4. But yeah, it's mainly loose. That's what it's about on my end, my world. Yeah.
I'm always curious to see like if you make changes, if that changes. Because like sometimes your world, like my world used to be just like noxious gas all the time, literally clearing out train cars. Like what the fuck? Like you would just get out of their seats and leave the train. That was me causing that in general. It's like it was, and I thought that was just like, well, that's just me, until I made a lot of changes. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe just feedback. But yeah, not to say that it should or would be different, but just curious when you make some changes.
For sure, like when I eat like way more vegetables during the week, it's just like way more solid. And it's just like easier. I stopped pretty much. I still eat red meat, but we don't really cook it at home, for example. So, but for cooking like veggies, that usually does good things. It makes me go to the bathroom like a lot too, but it also is a lot more solid. So there's that.
Yeah, that sounds like positive feedback. That sounds like
it's great. I just keeping it up.
Yeah, for sure.
You're like, I want some of this. Yeah. I wind up going
You want to have some fun once in a while.
I want to have fun. And I'm not too gassy. Well, except for today. Today, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
What did you eat last night that made you farty?
I didn't really eat last night. We just had like little appetizer snacks. We had like some tofu, like a tofu, what do you call it, lettuce wrap thing. I ate like 2 of those. I had some champagne or like Prosecco, sorry. And what else did I eat?
Maybe it's the Prosecco.
I don't know. Maybe
the Prosecco gave you the gasso.
Who knows? But it was like, and like the second, not to go back to my story in the beginning, but like after snacking a little bit on some of this stuff, that's when my stomach was like, I have to go to the bathroom right now because it's not going to be
emergency.
Oh yeah, and I like just made it in time. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. Maybe something bad was in there. Who knows? It was a little spicy, and spicy foods do tend to get me going really quick. But it was tasty.
You're really advertising this tofu spicy wrap right now, and I'm about to be mortified.
Yeah, it was delicious, but it did have a little kick. So,
yeah, years ago, Cassie, I was always insanely constipated with really bad gas, and I did a fast for a little bit, for like a week, and I did 3 colonics and during that fast. And the first one I did like on the first day, and the therapist was like, it's just gas coming out of you. Like she had the viewing tube and it was just bubbles and bubbles. And she's like, I don't think I've ever seen somebody with this much gas. And then by the end of the week of fasting and like just doing broths and that kind of stuff, I weighed myself on the scale at the place before and after, and I lost 4 pounds of stuff. And that was like a week of not eating, and she just was able to clear out all that stuff that was impacted, and the gas had gone away. And it was like sometimes like I believe in like elimination diets and that kind of stuff, and that can just like clear you out of all the bad stuff.
Yeah, so the combination too of what you did is so helpful, because when you're not adding new things and you're removing stuff that's there at the same time, your body is so not focused on new like tasks. So what is it going to do with its energy? It's going to try to deal with what's already there. So it's like, thanks for not giving me new stuff to work with. I'm just going to deal with what's already here. And then I'm also going to use like the colonic as a tool to facilitate, let's push this out. And as you were getting deeper into whatever was going on internally throughout the week, is able to push out more and more and more stuff. And the combination of those 2 things, like I just had the client who just left right before I got on the call with you guys, was doing a 5-day like water fast with like 1 or 2 juices or whatever. And her colonic at the end of the week, of course, is like, well, now that her body had a chance to focus on the other stuff, yeah, you gave it a break and you did a good clean out. Like that's super helpful.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really good. And she was the woman the therapist who did it for me. She was so impressed at that last one. She's like, "Ooh, you're doing so good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
Yeah, you really did too. That's
like, good work. Nice job. Gold star.
My asshole is doing what it's supposed to. Cassie, so how did you get into this? How did this become your calling?
Yeah, it was so crazy because I was 20 and like straight regular kid eating Entenmann's, Reese's, all the things. And I just came out of college with a math degree, and I graduated early because I was like in a hurry to get out of there, and I was dying to go to work and start my life. And so I was started working in a corporate setting, which is kind of hilarious considering that is not my personality at all. But I didn't know that there were alternatives at the time. So I started doing that. And like the corporate environment it was like especially unhealthy for so many different reasons. I was also working in Staten Island. So it was like in a corporate parks of Staten Island. Like everyone was only eating Dunkin' Donuts. It was and there was no one like ever getting out of their chair ever. Yeah. It was so over the top. And that was the time when I stumbled upon this book, Skinny Bitch, which was really popular at the time. And that changed my entire world. Like within an hour on my commute to the job in Staten Island, I read Skinny Bitch and I was like, okay, I didn't know any of the stuff about food, about the food industry. It's a really short and quick and funny read. And it like literally transformed the entire next everything in my life. So I wound up like buying a juicer, becoming vegan. I brought it to the office. I was like making juice. And then one of the chapters was like, we need to talk about poop. Like now that we've talked about all this other stuff, like how about that poop thing? And I'm like, speaking of that poop thing, I don't think I was ready to admit that I like definitely never went to the bathroom. But how are you supposed to know it's normal if no one's ever talking about it and you don't ever have anything else to compare it to, right? So I run into that with clients all the time. It's like the things people think are normal are so not even close, but you wouldn't know if you've never talked about it or you never heard anyone else's experience. That's what you guys are doing. You're sharing experiences, and that's really useful. So people are like, whoa, that's a thing. That's a thing. That's a thing. Wait, hold on. My thing, how does that compare? Like, it's really, really a useful tool that you guys are doing. So so it's like, okay, pooping, apparently that's a thing I should be doing, but like didn't give it that much thought. But the next book I read was like, now you definitely need to go get a colonic. So I was like, I don't know what a colonic is, but I'm interested in doing what these people are doing. So I went and got a colonic, and for my very first colonic ever, that was it. I like knew I had to do it. I was like, I don't even know why. And now all these years later, I have this really interesting experience in the last couple of years that revealed like subconsciously what happened in that moment. But for my first colonic, I was like, this is it. I have to do this. So like not too long afterward, I did quit my corporate job. I did like pursue that. I wound up going to culinary school and just being like really excited about the whole lifestyle. And then flash forward like 10 years, more than 10 years, like 12 years. Over COVID, I wound up getting into like all these psychedelic therapies. So I did an MDMA therapy, my first MDMA therapy at that time. And the thing that came out of it, they were like, oh, well, look at this. Like all my stories and my childhood traumas seemed to involve my mom in the bathroom because she was so heavily addicted to laxatives and spent like 5 hours in the every single day. And the thing about laxatives, and I don't know if you guys wind up talking about this much on your show, is that they're so addictive. So even my mom told me like a year ago that she ran into this woman who takes 100 laxatives a day, who's in her 30s. So my mom was like feeling super proud of herself because she only takes 50 laxatives a day. And that is like, if you think about like every pharmacy has a laxative section, and every like health food store, Whole Foods, whatever, has a laxative section. It's because it's an industry preying on people to not make changes. And it's so addictive that once you start, it's really hard to escape. And then you need more and more and more. And your system is so irritated and destroyed that you don't
ravaged.
It's ravaged. Right?
Yeah.
But you can't get out of it either, because then you try and you've done like permanent damage, and also it's too sensitive and irritated to like address it elsewhere. So in all of my years and all of my clients, I almost never see laxative people because they will not try tonic. It's like just they won't go there. Right.
I mean, I'm blown away with 100 laxatives a day. I think I've taken a laxative like maybe once, like a packaged laxative, like as like. Maybe as a kid or something like that to go to the bathroom. I was constipated, but like 100 or 50. So wait, is your mom still doing 50 a day?
I haven't asked, but I'm sure she is. And the amount of hours that she spends in the bathroom every day now, and then also when I was growing up, like think about the neglect, right? Like this woman is literally in the bathroom all the fucking time. And she's just a statistic, right? Like she really is. She's just a demographic. Like if you look at the laxative section everywhere you go, and this is not new, this is so old. This is just a business where they like, how is that different than cigarettes, or like where they're like, come on, do the thing. And then you like can't stop ever. And they know they're like ruining your life, but for their profit. So anyway.
That is so fascinating. I had no clue. Like just that whole idea of, I didn't realize they were even addictive, like just at all. Is it the actual physical laxative itself, or is it the process of doing it? I guess it's probably a combination of all that stuff.
But it is very addictive physically. So what's really nice about colonics is that there aren't any negative side effects or drawbacks. You can do them every single day if you want to, and it will not fuck up your body at all. It'll only enhance your ability to go better, to hydrate you, to strengthen your muscles, to help you poop more. Like there's no limit. You can do it as often as you want to with zero negative side effects or drawbacks. With laxatives, the whole way that they work is that they're poison. So you take them, even the natural ones, Senna, you can say it's natural, but it's still a laxative. And the point is that your body responds to it as an irritant, and it's pushing it out like in a really spastic way, right? It's like you're throwing poison at the problem. That's so the American way, isn't it though?
Yeah.
So like, isn't it though?
Oh,
so like instead of like thinking like, oh, listening to your body, what does my body actually want? It's really mad at me for doing these things. It's like, let me just throw some more crap at it. And then it is actually physically addictive because it makes it so that you can't go without it. So
it's like nose sprays.
Yeah.
So many things are like that. So many things are, it's like once you start doing it, your body doesn't know how to do it without this thing.
Right.
Then also that thing actually stops working. So you need to take double the amount and then double that amount. And then like you could take 50 at some point and like it's still barely helping. So
can I mean, I don't know if it's your mom or other people who are addicted to laxatives. Is it also like, as I've heard of certain people who do it as like a kind of bulimia instead of
course, yes, my mom included. Yes, of course, that so often comes with eating disorders.
Yeah.
Of course. That is like such an obvious way for people to get the
lose weight
purge cycle. So they tend to, it's very much part of that cycle.
It's like that whole like skinny tummy teas that they advertise. And like, we've talked about that before on the show and how like, that's not good for you.
It also doesn't make you lose weight. People who are,
it just makes you lose water.
And fuck up your whole blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help. But I think people like in the very, 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 very short term, it's like drinking alcohol. You're like, I'm only getting the benefit, or like eating, having a bit, like eating a bunch of cake or whatever. You're getting like this hit immediately, but immediately after that, you're getting this low. And so, but you're always looking for the high. And then it lasts for so short, and the downside is so long afterward. So with the laxative teas, you're looking for that little burst of like some type of satisfaction where something came out of you. If it does, which is not guaranteed at all, then, the downside afterwards pretty intense, but you're like, but I need that little burst of the good thing. And also nothing else will work anymore.
Oh, yeah. That's nuts. Well, if anybody out there has a laxative issue, please give us a call at 203-998-5579, or you can email us at heypoopypodcast@gmail.com. Sorry, I just want to crowbar that in there because this is insanely fascinating to me. Like this whole world I didn't know about.
Thank you, Cassie, for bringing this to us. In 4 years we've been doing the show, this is the first time we've talked about laxative addiction.
The laxative cabal.
I love. Oh my God, absolutely. So isn't it like it's such a sneaky little industry where I'm like, well, thanks for fucking up my mom's life and apparently mine like in default because I was so affected by her issues. But
like that's even also amazing that like you figured out that like your calling in life was almost like a way to help everybody because you wish you could help your mom, Oh,
it was shocking and fascinating that like that came to light. I think that's not uncommon that people are so driven by their childhood traumas, but don't know it until it finally reveals itself so much later. And that's exactly what happened. I like couldn't believe that was like what came out of my MDMA therapy was like, guess why you do colonics? Like what?
Yeah.
I had never thought it was just because they were awesome. Like I didn't know that it was because this caused so much pain and problems for my family. Like, wow. Yeah.
That is unbelievable, man.
Sorry.
Yeah. Totally. I'm excited to hear whoever calls in and talks to you guys about their laxative addiction because that's like a deep, dark, shameful place people do not like to go.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. That is
learn something new every day.
Laxatives aren't really in my life except for like if I get a colonoscopy. That's like pretty much the only time I'm taking that kind of stuff. So, which is,
I'm going to be curious how many people but don't know are like.
Oh, I'm sure it's a bunch.
So,
I would bet dollars a donut. It's a bunch of people.
Sure.
I've talked about it on this show that I take a laxative if I have been constipated, but I'm not taking it every day. I don't even remember the last time I took one. It could have been like about 3 weeks ago, or I bring them with me when I travel because I always get constipation when I travel. But I try to do healthier stuff first, like drink tons of water, eat fruit and vegetables, but sometimes, but I never even thought like, oh, I got to take a laxative once a day and then keep taking it and taking more. It's like, wow, that's intense.
No, it's like being addicted to drugs in a different kind of way. I mean, it's
definitely
it's like your brain's been wired to like, now I need these things to actually, function. And then you just need more and more to even get quote unquote high or like to work.
Definitely to get that hit, that dopamine hit.
Yeah, no, that's.
I mean, I remember somebody told us on the show, or it was a while ago. I heard a statistic that some people take Imodium, the people who are addicted to opiates like taking Imodium because they get that same kind of feeling. Because like when you're addicted to opiates, you don't poop, and Imodium constipates you. And I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't even put those two things together.
Wait, why would you want to feel more constipated when you have opioid-induced constipation, which I've heard is the most painful version of constipation a person could experience?
I don't know.
They miss the glory days. They're like, damn.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to get that feeling back, which that's completely alien to me.
Or it makes them feel more constipated. What does Imodium do?
It constipates you,
binds you up.
Binds you up, but like it's just not like Pepto. They need that like hardcore binding up, and it reminds them of like opiates. And I'm like, what?
Like once they have recovered. Oh my God, that's wild.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
It's always something where I'm just like, pooping once a day is such a complete, like, it just relaxes my brain and body to know that everything's working the way it should be, you know?
The other thing I would recommend too is to try it out. I know you guys had an episode about enemas. So if you're like, ugh, I'm not going to the bathroom today, why don't you just try an enema first? So you were saying you like to try some healthier options first. Try an enema. Like, see if that works. Like that might just, and what's nice about an enema too is that it's just going directly. You're not going to have to take it. The thing with a laxative is it's going through your entire digestive system. So hopefully, fingers crossed, something happens because if nothing happens, it's either disappointing or you actually made a big problem and now that's not coming out. So it could be way more uncomfortable or way worse. But with an enema or clonic, you're just going directly in straight through your rectum, right to the spot where you're hoping to get the activity. So you're also not with a laxative. You could be waiting hours or a day. Who knows how long, if at all, it's going to hit. With the enema, it's within a couple minutes. It'll just happen right away. So it's just better for your quality of life anyway. So if you're traveling, I always bring an enema with me while I'm traveling. Actually just sent a holiday email blast out that was like, holiday travel tips, bring an enema, bring healthy snacks. Like if I don't have my enema or healthy snacks, I'm going to get super fucked on my trip too, because traveling is really hard on the body. It's fun, but it's like not that fun because it's so tough on your system for so many different reasons. Yeah. So I always travel with an enema. I always recommend people to. And yeah, I would say try it out. Just see if you haven't already, if that's a helpful tool. That doesn't like also mess up if you're wondering and waiting when the laxative is going to hit.
Yeah.
I mean, I do also travel with suppositories because they're so small. Yeah. So it's like a little bit easier. But I do have enemas here just in case also.
Yeah, I can send it to you too. But there are like 2 enemas that I recommend. They're both rubber or silicone. So you never need to buy another one. And the little one is actually for babies. It just looks like a little bulb, like a syringe, a couple ounces. You can get one that's like 8 ounces or 4 ounces or 2 ounces. And that is super easy to travel with. And that's like tiny. And I always bring that with me. So it doesn't take up any space and you never need to like worry about running out or what if I like used mine and I can't get another one. So yeah, recommend.
I want the 8 ounces, please. I want the big one because I'm a size queen.
You're like, you got a 64-ounce bulb laying around.
Put a whole gallon in me. Let's go.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, Cassie, is there anything else that you want to share with us and the audience on colonic therapies or any other tips that you want to give us?
I don't know. I think I gave you a lot of my like main tips and tricks are like enema is amazing. Clonics, don't be nervous or afraid of them because they're so wonderful and so healing and don't have any of those negative side effects or drawbacks like laxatives do, or maybe some of the other things people stick up their ass. I don't know. Question mark. And
pennies and stuff.
Yeah, glass bottles.
In terms of what you're eating, that's really the key, right? So you're saying that like eating vegetables like really impacts like what's coming out and is a reliable way of putting in nourishing things that are really supportive. So you don't want to attack your system. You want to support it. So the more things that you can do that are like listening, supportive from the earth, those are great options that are generally available. You can tend to like find them around. It doesn't have to be so creative. And yeah, I don't know. I love colonics. They've been like such a game changer for me. So, and they're just water. And we do infuse some with, we do have options where we infuse it with coffee and chlorophyll, or we'll infuse them with CBD, which is another really incredible tool because it relaxes the muscle. So all of that like tension that you don't realize that you're holding with, you're like, oh, I'm so stressed, or just like the normal tension. A lot of that you're holding in your gut. That's why that's like where your source of your gut feelings or your gut reactions, like that's your emotional center. So a lot of the stress that you're holding is there too. So when you're tensing, so you might be like, I'm not good at going to the bathroom, even though I'm eating really healthy and I'm drinking a lot of water, I'm doing the things. Maybe it's because you're holding so much tension there, and you probably are. So obviously some of those like just more calming coping skills for calming the stress in your life, you know, meditation, breathing, walking, be outside, things like that. But also using CBD in the colonics, we force your intestines to chill the fuck out so that they can release and relax so much more too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I guess I also have one more question. Any accident stories?
Oh, just personally?
Or
at work,
personally
or
on
the
the
job.
table, anything. Yeah.
There are obviously accident stories on the table. But for me personally, I was telling my husband earlier, I was like, what are some accident stories? Remember that time that we went to Martha's Vineyard? And it was just like the funniest thing of all time. We went to Martha's Vineyard and we thought like, oh, we'll just rent some bikes and we'll go around, not realizing how big this island is. And it is big. So we're like riding for 30 miles. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom like all of a sudden. And there's like nowhere to do it. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to like leave my bike over here, go in this place that's, I'm not sure if it's really a good idea to go here, but I gotta go. It's become an emergency like right now. And so I went, and almost immediately after I started to go, and it was like a wet situation. It was not like it was a messy situation to begin with. I don't know what was going on, but the emergency came on. It was like, okay, making a pile of wet, mushy shit. And then I thought I heard something and I got nervous. I was like, oh shit. So then I was like, fuck. And then I literally stepped in it in my sandal, in my super favorite sandal of that summer. And then I was like, oh shit. So then I like walked back to the bike and my foot was covered in shit. And Andy, my husband, is so sweet. So he was like, don't worry, babe, I'll clean it off. Meanwhile, we have like 30 miles left, which I'm exhausted at this point. The sun is going to go down. Like, how are we even going to make it back? And I had to take off my sandal and gave it to him. He like had a plastic bag. He like tied it and hung it from the back of his bike, gave me one of his socks. So
that's pretty sweet.
Now and then we were like riding many miles later and we were hungry, obviously. So we like walked into a place. I'm wearing one sandal and one sock, and there's shit shoe hanging on the back of my bike.
Oh, that's true love right there.
Yeah, we always say that. We're like, love is not romance. Love is helping your partner clean up their shitty mess. So, yeah, that's true love.
So, you know, we love.
That's
and then he did spend like a good hour trying to clean that sandal off, and it was not going to work. So I lost it. Yeah, I lost it to the island.
To the Oh, that's the worst. I'm sorry.
Yep.
What's a good story for the show, so thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice. Well,
should we go into shitty
we're
choices?
into a little game we like to call
Shitty Choices.
And today, one of the choices was, we have two choices. You get to pick one. The first being never be able to speak again, or you can only speak using your butt cheeks. No, I think I know the answer. I think I know how you guys are going to answer on this.
I do like talking a lot. I'm not sure I would give it up. Talking in my butt cheeks, I'll take it.
Yeah, Ellen, I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, I'm going to Ace Ventura this one all the way home.
Yeah,
talking with the butt cheeks. Oh my God. Know how how famous we'd get?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I had to podcast through my butt cheeks.
It would be pretty. You need like a star. Everybody would be a star if you was talking on your ass, like literally. So I
might even set a trend.
Yeah, I thought yeah, I would definitely go with talking to my butt cheeks because it'd be pretty like. And you have to really want to talk to somebody because you're like, I got to turn. If you're sleeping, I got to turn over. You're like, all right, hold on for a second.
It sounds exhausting, but
it's a great. I mean, you're gonna be like, you probably get a little annoyed going to parties. Like, oh, do the thing again. You're like,
yeah. Like, can I just write it this time? Like, no, you have to actually do it through your butt.
Yeah. So I know. I think it'd be like really poignant. Like, I have a real statement to make here. Let me turn around.
It's important.
Yeah. Right. Oh my God. Okay. Awesome. So all for talking out of our
We're
ass.
all on the same page.
Yeah.
I guess
That's what I figured. That's what I figured.
Dave, that might have been my favorite shitty choice of all times.
I thought you liked that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Ace Ventura style.
Yeah, Ace Ventura. All right, so we're going to get a little news and then we'll get you out of here. So hold on for 1 sec and I'm going to play a little theme song and we're going to get you into it. So it's a news story, I guess. I mean, it's news because it's in the news section of the show. But my coworker, a good friend of mine, Tracy, shout out Tracy Campbell for sending this to me. So the website McSweeney's, which is like a literary website, this guy Dave Eggers, author, started it. I forgot even how long ago. And like I don't have a subscription to it. I've gotten like comedy books from them and there's gifts and they have a whole like humor section. So this to me fits into that. But this woman, Jessie Gaskell, wrote this last year, and it's called "Will I Have Diarrhea?" A flowchart. And I'll link this in the show notes and everything. But it is hilarious. Like, will I have diarrhea? And it's like, did I eat something? Did I drink something? And then it's like questions like, was it spicy? Dinner burrito? Is this flowchart stressing me out? And like all like 2 words, vegan nachos. Like it just, there's so many funny little like cues on here that I think everybody should check us out. It's really hilarious. And I thought it was my friend who was like, you have to do this on your show because I think it's just really funny. But there's some really good stuff like, am I alive? Majority of these questions do point back to diarrhea, but some of the actual little questions in here are hilarious. So, am I a long distance runner? Am I in a porta potty? Am I on the International Space Station was my favorite. But yeah, so there's some really good stuff. So check it out. If you go to McSweeney's, it's under articles / will I have diarrhea, a flowchart. But I'll link it in the show notes. You can check it out. So, and thanks again, Jessie Gaskell, for writing that because it's pretty hilarious. But Cassie, thank you so much for being on our. Thank you for all the amazing tips about what you do, what you've been through, what you provide for people out there. So check it out. Get your butt checked out.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
And do you want to plug anything, Cassie?
Yeah. So if you want to come get a colonic, it's at colontherapynyc.com. You can just send in a request. And then on Instagram, it's have a regular day.
Nice.
I thought you might like that.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I do. It's perfect. Well, everybody go out and do that. Check
and don't get addicted to laxatives.
Yeah. Stay away from those laxatives. If there's one takeaway from this episode, laxatives are bad. So, but thanks again. Thanks for laughing, learning everything but with us.
And happy pooping, everybody, and enjoy your butthole.
For more info, go to heypoopypodcast.com or email us at heypoopypodcast@gmail.com. You can send in show ideas, guest requests. Check us out on Twitter at heypoopy, Instagram at heypoopypodcast, TikTok, Hey Poopy Podcast, and our awesome new Facebook fan page. Go check it out at Hey Poopy Podcast. We're also on Discord at Hey Poopy Dumps, or you can contact us at our new awesome hotline, 203-998-5579.
Hey Poopy Podcast is brought to you by Perfect for Entertainment. Produced by Dave and Ellen. Edited by Dave. Executive producers Stormy Leather. Theme song by Jordan Perlson. Hey Poopy!